joined by Adam Yates, formerly of Port Vale, Morecambe, Northampton, Leek, Crewe.
Burton.
Where?
Burton.
And Burton. Obviously not done my research well enough. Adam, before we get into it, I just want to talk about, obviously you played for Port Vale, this is Vale Park.
Yeah.
How much did it mean to you as a youngster from Stoke-on-Trent to be able to play for Port Vale?
I think initially growing up as a player or a young lad, you want to become a footballer and play for any professional team. But playing for a local side, it meant so much more. You know, being part of the city, and part of the community, and part of all the fans. You know, going down the corner shop on a Sunday morning when you've lost 3-0, and you know, 85-year-old Fred starts getting on your case because you've given the ball away. It brings it all home, and you know, it makes you feel like you realise just what it means to the local people. And to be honest, you know, I had numerous opportunities to leave the football club, and I didn't because I wanted to be here.
And it is a club that is a real pillar of the community, especially now new owners have come in, and you are trying to drive the club really in the community's face and get involved.
Well, it's got to be at this level. You know, football clubs want as many fans through the door as possible, but certainly at this football club, and the type of people the owners are, you know, they're very community based. They give a lot back to the community, whether that's through schools, community groups, churches, whatever it may be. They look after the staff, but they want to make this a family orientated club, and I think that feel is coming back to the football club. It's certainly important, and it's sort of produced a feel good factor around even the staff within the stadium.
So you've mentioned family there. We're going to take it right back to the beginning, if that's okay.
I can't remember about that.
We're going to talk about you growing up, coming through Crewe. You actually went through that process with your brother Ryan. I believe he was actually in the academy as well. What was that like for the family? Any competition?
Well, I may as well bring this up now. Ryan edited the Wikipedia page, my Wikipedia page, and said that Ryan was a more talented brother. Quickly, Wikipedia realised this wasn't true. And it has got to be factual on Wikipedia, so they edited. No, so I've got two younger brothers. Ryan, 3 years younger than me, who was at Crewe as well. You know, started Milton Lads and Dads, got spotted, went to Stoke, was there for a little bit, ended up getting spotted and played to go to Crewe. Went to there, enjoyed that more. Sort of 8 years old, went right the way through, signed a professional contract at 17, stayed till I was 21. Ryan was there and got released a little bit, probably 12 or 13 years old. But I was always the one that if we were going to become a professional footballer, it was going to be me. Physically, I was just better than Ryan. You know, Ryan had a lot of talent, but it was never.
I can't wait. I cannot wait for him to watch this video, and he's going to be straight on the phone.
He will. But you know, Ryan, what I did have some talent. He thinks he had more than he actually had. But that's the way football's gone. You know, football is. If you look at the big clubs nowadays, they will take youngsters that are physically very, very good compared to a good footballer because they can coach the football into them. They can't bring that physicality and that athleticism in. So, you know, I don't particularly agree with it, but that's the way that a lot of big clubs are going. Yeah. So I ended up. I was there for 4 years, professional at Crewe.
You never got to make a first team appearance for Crewe?
I played in some of the cup games, never actual league game. I was the guy that took me all the way through was Steve Holland, who's now assistant for England.
Yeah.
You know, unbelievable coach, such a lovely bloke. Never really a manager, but a fantastic coach and as good as I've ever seen. I have to say that, you know, he's a very talented man, and he can spot players, and he can produce players, and quite rightly he's part of the England setup.
So from Crewe you went to, was it Leek?
Yeah, so with Crewe in the Championship, sort of got released, never had an agent, didn't know what to do. Came back down to earth with the bump. I'd gone from being in the Championship, training with the first team, you know, being on the bench quite a number of times, to being without a club and nowhere to turn. Ended up signing at Leek Town, and I have to say, in the 2 years I was there, I probably learnt as much as in non-league as I did right through Crewe, because physically it's so demanding non-league. The lower you go.
This is one of the questions I was going to ask, is that obviously for now we're seeing a lot of players come through at these top clubs who don't necessarily get the opportunities. No. As someone who has taken the step down, not just one tier but, you know, several, to go and play for Leek Town, is that something you'd recommend and you say would help young players?
I just think that football's changed. I think that the lads that come in from the big clubs now, with the younger lads, you know, 21, 22, 23, they're not hardened to football. They've got no resilience. They've got no mental strength. You know, you will see a lot of players coming from the top clubs that don't make it to the top level, dropping down to the lower leagues and not succeeding because they can't physically cope, or they're not mentally strong enough. You know, you've got young lads leaving school and coming into football now where you can't shout at them, you can't swear at them, you can't, you know, they're not made men. So, you know, they go into men's football and they're not men. They get intimidated. For me, I think that at 16, 17, 18, you play your youth football, and you should be going out to a non-league club from a professional football club, because I just think it hardens you up. And they need to be like that. And what you'll find is 23s football, as pretty as it would be, it's not real football. And unless those players that are doing well at 23 make it in the top clubs, they very rarely will go down the leagues and make a good long career. They might pick up 3 and 4 years somewhere, but they certainly won't go for 15 years of a football career. I
do want to talk about under 23s for a minute. Stoke under 23s came to Vale Park, and Vale League Two side absolutely played them off the park. I was here. Does that show the real gulf in class in these players that are believed to be at the top of the game and in the good academies against the League Two side?
I just think it's men's football, so you know, you those players, no matter how gifted they are, you know, and I've played with some very gifted players who've never played a league football game. You know, you look at some of the non-league players, they've got fantastic ability, but physically or mentally or professionally, they just haven't got what it takes. You know, a couple of years before the game that you're on about, one of the staff at Stoke had spoke about, you know, the 23s have beat majority of League Two sides and quite a lot of League One sides. And as a League One and League Two player, we know that's absolute rubbish. You know, it's you know, it's not. It doesn't show any respect to what the level is. And I think it probably proved that we were right to go out and drill them that night. They're miles off it. The 23s are miles off it, and that's the truth. You know, it's not men's football. And I would like to see the statistics of under 23 players at 22, 23 that go on and make 15-year careers outside of that, because I bet it's very, very low.
It must be. When you were at Leek, you got a trial here.
Yeah.
Martin Foyle was the manager at the time.
Yeah.
I assume he'd spotted you.
Yeah. So there'd been a conversation between Leek and Paul Vale. You know, I came, but Leek wanted a little bit of money, and Paul Vale weren't prepared to pay it. Luckily for me, I would have loved to have signed to the football club. Luckily for me, I played a pre-season game, and Mark Cartwright was then acting as an agent. We played Morecambe, and Sam McElroy was there, and you know, sort of wanted me up there straight away to sign. So they agreed to deal with Leek, and you know, went straight up there.
So I believe it was at Morecambe. This is something which, when we kind of researched you, I was very interested about. You actually played for the England C team.
Yeah.
That's a process not many people know much about, so I'd be quite interested to hear if you can enlighten us on that, how that process, how it all came about.
To be honest, I'd gone from being at Leek, which, you know, no disrespect to Leek in the league, but there was some terrible grounds in that league. And within sort of 3 months of me playing a game for Leek, I was playing across, you know, for England side, and played at Wembley through that year. So it wasn't a jump, because ability wise I was comfortable. It was just I was back into full-time football. So I went up to Morecambe. There was a bit of interest initially straight away from Preston. Discussed a bit of a fee with Morecambe, never got taken on. Ended up going and playing for the non-league side. So it's basically the best players from non-league are picked for an England C side. We had, I think, sort of in that squad of 18, there was probably 11 that played in the Premier League at some point in their career after they played for England. So, you know, you can see the talent and the ability that some of the lads have got. You know, George Boyd, McHale Smith, you know, they were all in there. Michael Morrison. There was a lot of good players in there. And you were treated like the England national side would. You know, you stayed at the best hotels. They flew you about the country to play in the games. You got the England caps, you got the shirt, so it was good. But I felt like, you know, even though I was playing for the England non-league side, I still wanted to get back to the Football League.
And then, obviously, you talk about playing at Wembley. With Morecambe, you played at Wembley in a playoff final. I was there.
Yeah, I remember that. You were a top then, Jack.
Yeah, I was literally about this big. As a day, that must be one of the best of your career.
Well, I just think that, you know, it was the new Wembley, so there'd been a few games on there. The FA Cup final was the day before. They were mown out the pitch. We got on the pitch. It was fantastic, and emotionally it's so draining. So football for 90 minutes, dependent on how hard you work, but at professional level, you generally, you know, you're shattered at 90 minutes. But emotionally, that took a lot more out of us as well. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I would have swapped going up the way we did. So we went through the playoffs, and we went 1-0 down, got it back to 1-1, and then you know, the lad goes up, we're defending for 45 minutes, second half, flag, clearance, our lad goes up the other end, puts in the top corner. You know, no time for them to come back. It was just unbelievable. I didn't particularly get the chance to celebrate because the next day I flew on a plane from Manchester up to Scotland to play for England Seaside, so didn't really get. Yeah, you know, I would have liked to have a few beers with the lads after that, but you know, I was a league footballer again, and it was. I think as a player going out to non-league and back into the football league, you know, I think that a lot of players that make that transition out and back in are determined never to fall back out again. And I think you realise what you've got as a professional footballer, so that you don't allow the same things to happen again. You know, I'd gone from a career at Crewe at 8 years old to 21, to 13, 14 years of being at Crewe, just going up an age week playing, going up an age week playing, going up an age week. And I almost expected to just go and play in the first team, and probably didn't work hard enough to do that.
So it was then, obviously, you got back into the Football League, and Morecambe, you were a regular in the first team, the first season back in the Football League. How great did that feel for you?
I always believed I could get back in, and my family did, you know, especially my dad. And I've got a very close family, very supportive family. But getting back there was, you know, right, you know, roll my sleeves up, let's get back going again. You know, I'd had a bit of interest from other clubs to go higher, so I knew that I'd got a chance. And to be honest, those moves are, you know, you go through periods in your career where you have good spells and bad spells, and if you get picked up during a good spell, you need a little bit of luck with the transfer, which I didn't get. But I realised that I was back in full-time football, you know, and I was back as a league footballer, and I just wanted to get cracking.
You almost like to pinch yourself.
Well, it was at Morecambe, Jack. It wasn't.
Listen, it's a football league team.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had some fantastic times up there, and you know, the lads up there were absolutely brilliant. You know, I learned a lot at league, but I knew what football was back about when I was up there, because it was a really tough place to go and play. The old ground was. We had a really tough team, you know, real winners in that team, and we went sort of 18, 19 games unbeaten. We weren't winning an awful lot, but we didn't lose any. So, you know, we knew there was a lot of players in there. Jim Bentley, manager at Morecambe, Dave Artell, manager at Crewe. Gary Thompson had a good career. We had a lot of good players. Mark Duffy, who was at Stoke, he was in there. Carl Baker, who was another good player. We had a lot of good players in the team, and because it was such a difficult place to go and play, you know, you knew those Tuesday night games against Wickham or Barnet, you were going to pick up points because they didn't fancy it.
So up next, I believe, was a loan move to Burton Albion. Yeah, a club that's actually risen through the ranks, and now you know, they've become an established Championship team in recent years as well. So what was that kind of loan move like? How did it come about?
I'd had a knee injury. I'd been playing with sort of a little cartilage nick, so I'd been playing with it for probably a year or so. Got through to the summer and had the op. Came back and I needed a little bit more work, so I wasn't quite fit enough to start the season, so I went on loan to Burton for the month. Nigel Clough was manager. They were in the conference, decent side, and you know, he was different. Nigel was different, so you know, team game days, you know, his assistant would come in and literally pin an A4 piece of paper at the top of the wall with the team on the sub, so they wouldn't tell anyone, and then he'd just go out. But he was a very good manager, knew how to get the best out of what he got, player-wise. Obviously learned a lot from his father. But yeah, played some games and then went back to Morecambe and carried on playing.
Morecambe were obviously, the way they sent you out was obviously very amicable in the way they did. You knew you were going to come back and get back into the first team. Yeah,
I did. Yeah, you know, I knew. You know, Sammy McElroy was a good motivator. Tactically, I wouldn't say he was fantastic, but he was a good motivator, and he could get you going. You know, he knew. You know, you look at Sam McElroy, 500+ games for Manchester United alongside George Best, and he's telling you that you can go on and play in the Championship. You know, you'd sit up and take note. And you know, I have to thank Sammy for taking me from Leek and you know, getting me out, paying for me. And you know, I would hope they repaid him. You know, that year going into that team, I played pretty much every game, and we got promoted. And I played for the non-league side, subject to a couple of bids. So I would like to think I repaid him. But Sammy being Sammy, you know, he was a character.
Yeah.
And he was a nice guy. I mean, he tactically, as I said, he wasn't fantastic, but he was quite intimidating for the other team.
So that was then the catalyst, I suppose, for the move to here.
Yeah.
Back at Port Vale, what was that like for you? That must have been the big moment, especially after the, we were talking about earlier where you had the trial here, that didn't go through for whatever reason. It must have been nice to finally get that deal done.
It was. So, we played against Port Vale a couple of times over the 2 seasons of being back in the Football League, a couple of times in League Cup games. And, I got a call from Dean Glover probably in the January, so my contract was up in the summer. I got a call from Dean Glover, Morecambe had offered me a new contract, I didn't sign it. I got a call from Dean Glover saying he wanted to take me. Agreed a deal with him. Sort of rejected me one at Morecambe, or didn't probably negotiate as much as we would liked. And then he got the sack. So, I was thinking, what's going on here? So Bill Bratt rang me, who was the chairman at the time, and Bill said to me, look, we've offered you the contract, we're going to honour it, but I will speak to the manager who comes in. So for me, I was saying, what if the manager comes in, he doesn't want me, I'm stuck. And Mickey Adams, probably the best manager I played for, Mickey came in, said that he'd wanted me there, and I signed and got going.
And then obviously when Mickey came in, it was, you've moved clubs a few times in your career.
Yeah.
Mickey coming in will have made it a bit more difficult, but moving to Port Vale, that must have been one of the easiest moves you've ever had.
Yeah, I've been lucky really. As a professional footballer, you probably move around the country, or you expect to move around the country, especially the lower league. You are moving for another 20 grand a year, you move for another 10 grand, you're moving just for another contract. Whereas I've always been lucky enough to stay in the area, live in the area and travel. So Morecambe is 90 miles to Morecambe, but we train in Preston, we train a bit later than everywhere else, so you'd miss the traffic. Things just fell into place where I never had to move. But as soon as Port Vale offered me a contract, I was always going to sign here because, it was 10 minutes from my house. I'd grown up in the area. I knew everybody in the area. I got family obviously in the area. All my friends lived in the area. I'd been to a lot of the games here, when I was younger. So I thought, it was an absolute no-brainer for me. And coming back in with a manager like Mickey Adams, with his pedigree and his career, I just thought he would be able to get the best out of me.
And Mickey then left. He left, and Jim Gannon came in.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
Well, I think with Mickey was the best I've ever come across of getting the most out of his players. So, Mickey would get the best out of any player that he had in that squad, and mentally he would test you, and those that didn't pass the test mentally he got rid of. He wanted mentally tough players, and it wasn't about, running you till you were injured or you were ill, but he would run you to a point where mentally you were struggling to keep going, and when you kept going, he knew he got you, and you were one of the players he would stick in the trenches with him. There were players that couldn't go, and he quickly got rid of them. But we went on a brilliant run. We were sort of top of the league, fantastic goal difference, conceding very few goals, and Sheffield United come calling. And to be honest, he was a Sheffield United fan, and he'd always said that had they come, he would have gone. And to be honest, as players, we knew it was only fair on him. It was a dream of his. Yeah. You can't really argue with him. He was stepping up 2 leagues. He was on a fantastic deal. The club got a bit for it. For us as players, we didn't hold that against him. However, said that, Jim Gannon came in. So Jim was. We had a very, very strong dressing room. So people talk about strong dressing rooms. Managers won't get involved in a strong dressing room because they don't need to. If you've got a strong dressing room and something goes on between players sort it out. With the older players, more experienced players, the stronger willed players, characters sort that out. Jim Gannon came in and couldn't control the dressing room. He literally lost control. So you'd got me, Gary Roberts, Louis Dodds, Mark Richards, Lee Collins, real big characters, Anthony Griffiths, big characters in there. And he just didn't know how to control us. And it wasn't that we didn't have any respect for him, but he was just very, very different than what we were used to. So, you've got someone like Gary Roberts in the team, and with all due respect to Gary Roberts, he wasn't the brightest. So when you're sticking 10 pages of A4 writing on a wall before the game, and you're expecting Gary Roberts, who's the most talented player I've ever played with, to go through and read it, that wasn't Gary Roberts, and that wasn't football. You don't do that to players. You put minimal stuff on the wall, make sure they're prepared, make sure you're organised, and you send them out. And he just was too much. He wanted a group of 18-year-old lads that wanted to learn. Wouldn't really say anything back, where you had a really strong dressing room there. And he lost us very quickly. So under Mickey, we'll be getting weighed every day, and all the rest of it. He'd be very, very meticulous in what he did. Jim Gannon, over the course of however many months he was in, as a squad, we put about 8 stone on. So it sounds a lot, but you put players bits and bobs here and there. But over the course of the squad 8 stone, which is straight away you think we're not fit. And he just couldn't control the dressing room. He lost the dressing room, and he was going out in the paper saying the lads aren't good enough now. When he took over, we're top of the league. So you're looking, we've got lads in that dressing room thinking, you know, we're top of the league when he comes in.
Yep.
We dropped down to 6th or 7th. He's blaming us. You know, probably as players we'd have had to take some of the blame because we were losing games. But the manager was picking side. He was bringing players in. You know, signing them on a Friday night, and we were starting on a Saturday. And no one met them before. Yeah. You know, it just doesn't happen. And ultimately, you know, quite rightly he went. So, but there were incidents that happened with him. You know, I know you're going to ask about the bus and different stuff. So, he had a bit of a fallout on the bus with Jeff over something, and you know, Jim got off the bus and Jeff went down to Aldershot, and then, you know, the chairman had to take the manager's side because we needed the manager for the weekend. So Jeff left, and you know, he sort of never really saw eye to eye anyway. But he was very insular, Jim was, whereas we had a big loud dressing room and confident, you know, men. Really, we were a team of men, and he couldn't really handle us.
And then after Jim had left, Mickey did make a return. Obviously,
the Messiah returned.
The Messiah returned. His time at Sheffield didn't work out. How happy were you to see him back?
Well, I was, because I knew that he had unfinished business here, and he knew he did, and I think he thought he owed it to us and to the fans, you know, to come back and make a go of it. And you know, I'm not saying he regretted going, because I don't think he did, but I think he realised that, you know, he'd always have a place here after being so successful. Even though, you know, he left us at Christmas top of the league, it was a successful period for the football club, those 4 or 5 months, and he came back, and you know, we got going again.
So we're going to talk about a successful season yourself, the 2012-13. You were heavily involved in the side, which gained promotion. But at the end of the season, I believe your contract was due to expire. It was around then. Like, how for you as a player did you maintain such a heavy involvement with the first team, such a successful season, with your future in doubt, knowing at the end of it all you didn't know where you were going to be?
Well, I think with low league players, League 1, League 2's two players specifically, your contracts are always 1 or 2 years. You know, very rarely you sign 3-year contracts. And at the age I was, you know, I knew I was signing 1 or 2 years. I was always I was very, very fit as a player. I was probably, even at 34 when I retired, that, you know, as fit as, you know, pretty much any player in the squad. So I knew that if I played a lot of games, and I got a promotion under my belt, you're going to get a club. You know, you would be taken by someone. I had spoken to Mickey already about a contract. You know, they'd approached me and discussed it, and we decided to leave it till, you know, we were, you know, promoted. But I think that's always on your mind as a player. And you know, one of the things people ask me is, you know, would I go into management after I finish football? But I think you go back into the environment of chasing contracts. So the manager merry-go-round, you know, people getting sacked and jobs, and you move all over the country. You're back into that environment you were as a footballer, chasing 1 or 2 year contracts. You know, and really, do I want to be uplifting and going to, you know, Oxford and Southend and Plymouth for a management contract? I don't know if I would. You know, I quite like the fact that I've got a little bit more stability in my life now. So, you know, worrying times as players, yeah, you know, it's always on your mind. But knowing that we got promoted, I knew I'd had a few offers, and I had a few offers to go that summer.
And it was one of the best seasons this club has seen for a long time. Well,
it was, because you got to remember at the start of the season we were in administration. So when you've got players in a dressing room and you're not getting paid, and staff aren't getting paid in a football club, you know, it was that siege mentality where it brought us as players and management closer together, and it brought the staff of the football club closer together. So, you know, it wasn't just us players that weren't getting paid. It was, you know, the kit man, the kit lady, the admin staff, the cleaners, the caterers. You know, people weren't getting paid. So it brought us all together, and it was almost like, you know, us versus the world. And we went through periods of the season like you do in every season, you know, winning a lot of games. We went through periods where we couldn't quite win, but just things fell into place. So, you know, we lost quite a number of games on the bounce at a crucial period. Mickey Adams, being the absolute fantastic man manager he was, said to us, you know, as a good player, go out on the lash when you're going to the races, Cheltenham races, and I want you to come back on Saturday, and I want you to go and win the game. We went up to York on Saturday, won the game, and it started going again. And it was almost, you know, a rags to riches, you know, season for us, because we were in administration. We could have lost the football club. And
then the next season, you finished really well. You finished 9th in the league. You made 28 appearances that season in League 1, which is quite a step up from League 2.
Yeah.
How happy were you with not only your own involvement, but for the team to be able to get that up to that high point?
I think we go up into League One, and when you're playing Wolves at home and you've got lads on 40 grand a week coming and playing against you in the same league and not really getting much change out of you, you realise that the levels in football are minimal. There are players in non-league that are better footballers than some league footballers. It's luck. It's a number of different things, but we'd gone into League One against some big clubs, held our own, and as a group of players we sort of carried on the momentum from the season before. Some additions, fans were fantastic all the way throughout my career. The football club did a fantastic group set of fans, but finishing 9th there was a massive achievement. I think the chairman at the time went out and sort of told everyone that was be wage cuts, disrupted the squad. He decimated the squad within a couple of weeks of being out in the press, and it killed us. So you got lads, for me, I would always want to be at this football club. Tom Peck would always want to be at this football club unless he picked a contract like he did up. But when you've got lads from London who've got no real loyalty to Port Vale or the area, they are in it for the money. They want to win games, they want to play good football, but they want big contracts. When you're going out and telling them they're getting a wage cut and you're 9th in League One, you're going upset. You're upsetting people, and that's what happened.
I do just want to talk for a second actually about the way the football club has. It went from rags to riches, and then it has been to rags again recently.
Yeah.
The Shanahans have come in and bought the club. Yeah. Obviously, you're very close with the Shanahans. This club is definitely on the uprise again after the turmoil it was in. How disappointed were you to see the turmoil originally for the past couple of seasons?
I felt like my last 2 seasons at this football club as a player, I'd Rob Page came in, went to Northampton, Bruno Ribeiro come in, lovely bloke, probably started the season better than you would have expected. I'd had a cruciate injury that came to light. I played 90 minutes the night before against Forest, pre-season game, no problems, got up the next day, felt a tweak in my knee after training, got it scanned, showed that there'd been a cruciate rupture in there, and that'd been there for at least sort of a year or more, because when the cruciate ruptures, there's some swelling, some bruising and stuff. There was none of that there. It takes around a year to go, so I've been playing with a cruciate rupture, which is very, very rare. I've got strong quads and calves and hamstrings, so it secured the knee. I had the op the next day, so at that point, Pagey wanted to take me to Northampton. Asked the club said no, Bruno said no. But I think a lot of players came in through one source of agent, a lot of foreign players. So you go and put your best clips on a Sunday morning together through the season and put them into a 2-minute clip and show them, you're going to look like a Wilby. We had lads coming in who were decent footballers, but they're never good enough to play in the Football League. Bruno was almost given those players, and some were good, but they weren't suited to English football. You got some of the Portuguese lads, unbelievable ability, physically just couldn't cope with the demands and the pressure, and probably didn't have the mental strength to play in the English leagues, and I think really that was the start of the undoing. So I was out for the full season with a cruciate rupture. Bruno's come in, got the sack around Christmas. Michael Brown took over, and we needed another point who would have stayed up. We got some big players come down to play at this level that year. Ryan Taylor played an enormous amount of games in the Premier League. Came down, struggled really to get to grips with lower league football, and you sit and think, how does that happen? But the games are so different. You get pressed all over the pitch. So Ryan was getting pressed in areas that he'd never been pressed on before, and we went down. It was difficult, and they tried to rebuild the next summer for the first year in back in League Two, and just didn't seem to work.
So that 15-16 season, your squad number was changed from 2 to 14, I believe.
Yeah.
Although it might sound quite trivial, was that the first kind of indication to you that perhaps things were starting to slip out of favour for you?
I just, as a player, I think if you are signed by a football club, generally the manager's going to want to start with you. And I've been here for a long time. Numerous players have come in and perhaps played the odd game or so, and I ended up getting back in the team. And that, I think that always made me a better player. But I had a bit of a fallout with Rob Page about it. I didn't agree with it. He wanted to bring someone in who he thought would play right back in front of me, and he didn't. And there was numerous times in the year he started, and then I went in and played. And I believed I was a better player, and I knew that a lot of people agreed. but the manager had brought him in the summer and probably needed to justify why he brought him in. I was upset with it. I mean, I didn't hide the way I felt. Quite rightly so. But it was the decision I had to, I sort of accepted. But I wanted to be at the football club. I could have left that summer, and didn't, because I wanted to be at this football club.
You did go out on loan. Was it to Northampton?
Yeah.
Where you played under Chris Wilder.
Yeah.
Now look where Chris Wilder is.
Well, I played under Chris Wilder at Halifax as well as a kid. So when I was at Crewe in the Championship, as probably 18-year-old, I went on loan to Halifax with Chris Wilder. Now, it was eye-opening, to say the least. So I've gone from this tippy-tappy, fantastic, free-flowing football at Crewe, and a manager that didn't really scream and shout, to Chris Wilder, who, is what he says on the tin. And when he says something in an interview and he looks like he's going to smash the camera to bits, he's going to smash the camera to bits. And he was good for me, though, because, I remember I got sent off, and I got sent off from one of the games. Ability-wise, I was better than that level, but I wasn't manned. I wasn't a man. I was a boy still. I didn't realise what men's football was, and I sort of pushed someone, and I got sent off for it. And when I've come in after the game, Chris Wilder's effing and blinding at everyone in the change room. We lost the game 2-1, and he turned to me and pointed and said, "And you little toe rag."
I like that.
If you're going to get sent off for hitting someone, not for pushing them. And I don't think he actually meant it that way, but he was a winner, Chris was, and he was a good manager, and he was another one. He just knew how to get the best out. He was an old school manager, and he got the best out of his players, and he plays a way that he didn't particularly play that way then. But look at his games now. You've got wing back crossing to wing back and scoring goals, and centre halves overlapping wing backs, and they're all over the place. But it's working for them. But he was a tough man, so I went down to Northampton. I trained here on the Monday morning. Pagey said to me that, do I want to go on loan to Northampton for a month and come back after some games? And I said, yeah. Went up to, they got Newcastle away on the Tuesday night, so trained in Barnsley on the Monday afternoon. Went up to Newcastle on the Tuesday night. Full strength side. I probably played as well as I played for a good number of years.
Who were you up against on the wing?
So I played against Gouffran, Rolando Aarons.
It's a bit of a step up from wing to that, isn't it?
Well, do you know what? It wasn't. I never, either of them got a kick, and maybe players don't really. Sometimes you'll play against Premier League players and you don't get near them. Other times you fancy it, you come out on top, and they might not fancy it. They might have an off night, might be a bit tired. There's different things, and Jose Perez was there. He played on my side as well, and I just fancied the game. I fancied it. I wanted to go up there. I wanted to play. I was desperate to play at the ground, and I had a fantastic game. And I got man of the match. We lost. I think we lost 4-1 or 5-1, but I played really well. Nothing came down my side. Didn't give Rolando Aarons a kick. And Chris said to me, you stay as long as you wanted to stay. But I'd gone from what killed me a little bit was the travelling. So I travelled down there, and I played another game, and then I played a game on the Tuesday night against Colchester and tore my quad, which, if I look back at it now, I felt it a little bit on the Saturday. Decided to stay on and play through because I always had. Always played through little injuries, and you do as the older pros you'll find will play through injuries. So those players that say I'm not 100% fit, you're never 100% fit. You've always got a bruised foot or a bit of a tight quad, and you play within your body, because if you didn't, you'd never play many games. So I decided I played and ended up getting a tear in there. So came back to the football club.
So if I may, just bringing it back to that game at St James's Park and like those kind of cup games in general, you spoke about the mental resilience that you find that these kind of players have in the lower leagues, and perhaps the players in the upper divisions, especially the young ones like Rolando Aarons, don't necessarily have. Do you feel like that was an asset going to grounds like that you could perhaps use against them, that you had that kind of, not just physical toughness, but mental toughness as well?
Well, what you look at the Premier League players especially is they're all, they never ever big muscly lads. They're always very, very lean, very strong cores, very fit, very quick. They shift the ball quick, and they make more better decisions on the ball. So that you need to go out there and play as well as you can play to hold your own. But I was at an age where I was experienced. I knew that I would get tight to Aarons or Perez or Gouffran. Never let them get a turn on, or if they did get a turn on, shut them down quickly.
Or take them out.
Yeah, well, you do. You might put. If you have a wing that tries to run across you and you stick your arm across his neck, he doesn't really want to run you across you again, and it's just part and parcel of football. That's experience, and it did happen a few times with him. I knew he was all left foot right. I wanted to go down the line. A couple of times went down, got my arm across him, didn't really try it again. So, as an experienced player, what to do to deal with different players. The ones that you can't deal with, the ones that you can't get contact on, so physical contact. So, if the winger goes and stands 3 yards away from you, and you can't get physical contact on him, and he gets the ball and runs at you, and he's quick enough to go past you, you're going to have a tough evening or a tough afternoon. But it wasn't there. We had some good experienced pros in there. It wasn't a 4 or 5-1 game, but St James Park, big crowd, great night. But it was an experience. It wasn't every week football for us. Back to our bread and butter was league football.
And you talk about the injury that you suffered. You came back to the club and they gave you another contract, which was must have been a real boost of confidence for you, because it wasn't a nice injury to have.
No.
And for you to come back and for them to give you another contract, it meant you knew that you had another year safe, and to come back from an injury again, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, if I look through my career, I never had any many injuries. I had the odd quad, little niggle here and there, and the odd hamstring. Never any calf injuries. I'd always played with injuries, but I sort of got to a period of time where I'd had a cruciate injury, which I could do nothing about. The op, it was literally scan Wednesday, results Thursday, speak to the surgeon Friday, operate Saturday morning. Where generally, if you have a cruciate tear in a game, you have a period of where they will reduce the swelling. So it might be 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Say you have an op as a professional footballer. My op was the next day because it'd obviously been there so long. So I'd gone out for a season, came back, and I was as fit as I'd ever been that summer. Very, very gaunt, but very fit, and I was in all summer. When everyone else was off, I was in working, and came back, went on loan to Macclesfield for a month, came back, and then obviously had the eye injury.
Yeah,
Well, this is something that I think that we want to talk about, and for those that don't know, a horrific injury. For everyone that's seen,
so I showed Dan the other day.
Yeah.
So Dan didn't know. I showed Dan the picture that circulated.
Yeah.
And it is a horrific injury. What can you remember what happened?
Yeah. So, it was Sam Hornby, one of the keepers at the club at the time, and I used to moan at him every day. So I was very vocal in training. I knew.
Can imagine me.
I knew I knew what needed to be said to different players in training, and I could get on some players' cases because I would need more out of them. There's other players that you couldn't go and do because mentally, you didn't need that. They needed an arm around them. And I would moan at Sam every day because he was never vocal. So, and I just remember the ball's gone over the top, got my hand on the centre forward, got to head it back to him, and he's come out and crunched with the knee. So I stayed on my feet. Didn't go down. Sort of stooped down, having a go at him, but blood is just like flowing, and it's all over it was all over the pitch. I've got my hands in the gashes and drag. Because the gashes, the cuts, you don't feel. You don't feel it, just throbs. But they were in my eyes, and my hands were in the cuts, and. So the physio come on, and I walked off the pitch. That's a bit of a gripe I've got with the players now, particularly the top level. They roll around like they've been shot. Yeah, and to be honest, I had a ridiculous amount of breaks in the cheekbone, nose, eye socket, everything. And I'd walked off, and I'm not saying I'm a hero, but people should really. They should expect.
It's not really a man's game in the Premier League.
No, you said that, not me, Jack.
You say you've walked off, then you've gone into hospital, and.
Yeah, so I walked off the pitch, got into the physio room. They were obviously sticking the pads up my nose because my nose was completely shattered as well. So stuck the pads up, and they were just dropping out. They were feeling the blood dropping out. Swallowing the blood. Stomach was throwing it straight back up because it didn't handle pure blood, so it was projectile blood, vomiting. Ambulance came, got me straight up to North Staffs. Very luckily for me, our club doctor was a facial specialist. And he was at Staff's Hospital, North Staff's Hospital at the time. So it was just dead lucky. I got up there.
I wouldn't call it lucky.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so I got multiple eye socket, multiple cheekbone, multiple nose, upper jaw. I had a 5mm break this side that dropped, and then a crack this side. So crack, shattered, completely shattered, jaw dropped, and broke and dislocated my thumb. Now they didn't address the dislocation till about 10 days after, so that was out for 2 weeks, our socket. So, to be honest, it was quite a lot of pain in my face, but my thumb was giving me the most jip. Yeah. And I remember kept saying to the doctor, "Luke, my thumb's killing me." And he was like, "No, don't worry, there's a break in there." So literally my face just came out massive. So they stitched me cuts up, scanned my spine, brain, everything, just make sure there was no other damage. And sort of said, you know, come back every day for 10 days. I was going back in the hospital every day, you know, eye tests, stuff with the bones, you know, looking at potential areas to put plates and stuff in. And they said, look, you know, we'll operate 2 weeks from now. So the date happened, I was operated on 2 weeks later, more so for the swelling to go, and to actually see the damage to the eye. So my eye had fell down 5 millimetres and went back, a little bit back as well. So the doc, being our club doctor, you know, Dr. Peter Graham, fantastic surgeon, cut down the side and resocked titanium, moved the eye about.
Iron Man.
Yeah, don't hit me on this side, Jack. You'll break your hand. But he, yeah, so they operated, and effectively what happens, because the eye was at a lower level, 5 millimetres down. If I looked up, I got double vision. In fact, I had constant double vision up until the op. So 5 days after the impact, my eye opens, got constant double vision. 9 days after that, the op, lifted my eye back up, pulled it forward a little bit, resocketed it, obviously. But left me with double vision if I look up still. So effectively meant I had to retire. No, there's no choice. It wasn't just for my own benefit, really. You know, if the ball's in the air and I can't quite see which one it is, and I go crashing into you, it's not fair on you. Yeah. It's not just me; it's other people. So, you know, I just remember lying on the bed, and my mum and dad and grandma and granddad came, and you know, it was difficult for my mum and grandma, really. You know, my dad is a man. My brother's a man, my granddad's a man, but my grandma and my mum, you know, it was difficult for them to see, and I just couldn't have put them through it again. You know, it was difficult, and you know, whether it's luckily or unluckily, you know, I had to retire. I'd been offered a couple of jobs while I was playing, and you know, I would never have retired unless I had to. But you know, it was forced upon me, and it was difficult to hear, even when I was told. You know, I remember the day I cried my eyes out, but I knew I was retiring. Yeah. You know, I'd accepted it, but it still hurt to hear the doctor say, you know, we strongly advise you retire.
What couldn't have hurt is the reaction you got from not only Port Vale fans, but nationally. Yeah. It went a big story, and you got a lot of support.
Well, you know, they thought it'd been a car crash. You know, the injury was that bad, and you know, on a football pitch, there's not many injuries that are as severe as that on a football pitch. So it was all over Sky Sports News, all over the press, and I did get a lot of support. But I think if you'd have offered me my career at 6 years old to end at 34 in the way it did, I'd have probably taken it. You know, and I'm thankful for everything. You know, I appreciate everything everyone's done for me, and you know, I've worked hard, and you have your ups and your downs, but I still would have taken what happened if it meant I'd had the career I had. So. So you know, fans, particularly Port Vale fans, fantastic. A lot of football fans, fantastic. I got a lot of letters from people at other clubs, a lot of messages from people at other clubs and fans and press, and but it was time to retire.
So you retired. What is a day in the life of Adam Yates now that you're retired?
So, you know, I was lucky. I'd been offered I'd had a couple of people contact me in terms of jobs. But very, very, very luckily for me, you know, the two people that have now owned the football club, Carol and Kevin Shanahan, you know, I'd sort of spoken to Carol about what direction she thought could go in while I was still playing, you know, because I knew she had a lot of contacts and a lot of good ideas. You know, I'd done a degree at university, you know, to fall back on if I needed to. Carol sort of said, look, you know, come and see me, we'll have a chat. So offered me a job working for a company, running some of the community stuff, you know, bringing some of the businesses into different areas of what she knew. And I set a project up for her through Port Vale Foundation, supporting, you know, families in the city with the Department for Education, and then subsequently she set a charity up which I'll manage and coordinate the project through now. So a typical day now would be, you know, I would do some work commercially for the football club, bring some contacts in. You know, I set up and coordinate the project for the Hub Foundation. And I mentor some targeted children through the city. So, you know, I'm very busy. I still work with the players, you know, put perhaps a bit of an in-between players and upstairs. I still got quite a figure to the players in terms of some advice, particularly the younger players, and the academy, you know, families, children and families, because what people don't realise is the effect that football has on families, not just the player. You know, I have a huge amount of debt to my parents and family, brothers and grandma and granddad, and my agent. You know, because of a lot of time they take the brunt of problems that you have in football. So me not playing on a Saturday or panicking about a contract, you've got your mum and dad at the end of the day. Mum and dad are, you're still your mum and dad's baby. And emotionally, football takes its toll. It's difficult to cope with emotionally. So as a player, you not playing on a Saturday will affect you 24 hours a day. So I would wake up sometimes and I think I'm not playing. I'm frustrated. I've had a bad game. I cost a goal. I could have done this better. And your family deal with it. So I think particularly academy players need a lot of support, and families particularly need a lot of support.
So with retirement, one of the things that a lot of ex-pros speak of, and especially when you're in the lower leagues, and it's Wednesday, Saturday, how do you replace that feeling of the adrenaline on a match day when you're retired? Can you replace it, I suppose?
I beat me at go-karting.
Yeah, So we had a go-karting game, me and Jack, and he came last and I came first.
Yeah, all right.
My brother also. I will also tell that both my brothers and your father came behind me as well. So in the nicest possible
I'm going to edit that bit out.
So that's on record. But I think the one thing with football is you never can replicate the atmosphere, the game atmosphere, and the feeling. So being in that tunnel and things being said on the pitch, and the fans and goals and 70 minutes with 10 men and grinding a 1-0 win out or a point out when you should never have got it, or playing St James's Park or whatever, you can never replicate that in any other walk of life. There's nothing that can replace that. And I think for me that's the most difficult part. So it's not the change room. People say I miss the change room, but you're all on your phones, you're all in chat groups, you're all, everyone's contactable. Even the training, the dressing room is good and there's funny and laughter, but it's the games that get me, and that's what I miss. And to be honest, I come back and what I do, watch the team and do a little bit for the football club, but it never leaves you that you can't play anymore. So I try and do as much as I can. I play a lot of golf, although not particularly well at the moment. So I always I got down single figures. My little brother Dominic, as much as it kills me to say it, is far better than I am. I know.
That's very brave.
Very brave, but he's got to the point where I can't fight anymore. Jack, he's absolutely mopping me up every time. And I'm a very competitive person. I think that's why I had such a long career. I don't think you can get to 35 years of age as a professional footballer and not be competitive in every single walk of life. If we went onto that training ground, I would train as hard as I could every day. Yeah. I would want to win every single game on that training ground, and I would argue with people and I would fall out and we'd have words and we'd threaten each other. But it was never personal. It's never personal. It's always just business. And Tom Pope, I would argue with Popey every single day, and I used to tell him I'm going to fill him in, and he'd tell me he was going to fill me in. And we never would, because we were very, very close friends. But I knew what it took to get the best out of him, and I knew coming in at half time and having a go at him for not winning a header, he would up his game second half, and he knew how to get a bite out of me and me to raise my game, and that's what it was about. The competitive side keeps you hungry for it. So I think I can't replicate it, but competitive golf, competing at other things, gives you something, but it never gives you the football.
So what's it like now being on the terraces, watching the games, back as a fan?
Do you know what? It's frustrating because you see things, particularly these last couple of years. I mean, there's a lad who's playing in the minute right back, James Gibbons, local lad. I've nurtured him right through from he was a YTS lad, and I'm very close with Gibbo. And he is a type of player that fans like because he's so aggressive, very quick, very aggressive, loves the football club, loves football. So I'm trying to help him through, trying to improve him, just point things out that I can see that he probably doesn't see. But he's still watching, it's tough to watch. And when things happen in games and you think, I can't believe he's done that, or that's a ridiculous mistake, or he's miles out of it, or he's wrong. I'm not in the position where I can go down and give someone a rollicking where I used to be able to, and make them aware if there's a mistake, and now I have to leave it down to other people. Although I can have a quiet word now and then, it is quite frustrating.
That is it, Adam. You have taken us from the start of your career to the end of your career. It's been an emotional roller coaster. I feel like I've come along on it with you now.
You also look like you've got a tan, Jack. We've been sat in the sun for the last 35 minutes.
I am a bit warm.
You've got a
now,
bit of a glow, mate.
Yeah, I have. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
It's been a great interview.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Top man. Thank you.